flying right over again as I'm documenting Silverview townhomes who are actively engaged in their relevant position. They're under the same light source, covered in engineered light, pacing all around with simultaneity to what I do, monitoring in concert with LAPD, who amplifies audible activity, who acts in concert, who acts with simultaneity to my documentation, which is published onto the internet. This is also focusing on my location. You're looking at what is flying over my apartment in real time. It's 12:06 p.m. On March 23rd, 2022, this is the day following I'm capturing the state acting via the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department and the Pomona Police Department. I travel at an earlier time, taking a different bus route, as I specify in my documentation, going to the same venue, which is the Fontana Lewis Library. And this is plane and helicopter group stalking in the airspace, and the entity in the light source is over my apartment, nowhere near the Fontana Lewis Library, which is my point. On March 23rd, the light source is nowhere near the ALVARADO Gardens. This is the people of the state that are group stalking in relevant position. This is the maintenance of the specific environment here in Los Angeles. And on March 23rd, after documenting the Pomona Police Department, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, who are under a light source that remains central over me everywhere that I go, in violation of what is the operation of nature, and also while you're looking at it, remain stationary at one address all day long, that is speaking to the P.O.C. This is the entity that is acting in concert. This is movement around in the engineered light. This is accomplishing monitoring, and it's also accomplishing monitoring inside of a private space. And it's also directly related to the Los Angeles Police Department, who engaged in flying for 40 right here, okay? They're engaged in the ongoing stalking and surveillance, and they're monitoring the documentation about its criminal conduct. Silverview townhomes, they're covered in engineered light. So while they're documented, the entity is flying over a relevant position, communicating a threat, and that is speaking to the federal prosecution of the people of the state that live at Silverview townhomes. The entity engages in this pattern while you document the people. The people are, again, thereby communicating a threat as well. They're group stalking together. They're under the light source that remains directly over me together. They're pacing all around on foot and in vehicles, just like you saw Center for Better Life, Luis Ramos, Imiko Nagasaku and her son, and the people of the state of Center for Better Life, which is LA County, in case I already mentioned that, but I want to be clear that that group of demons that were pacing around, engineered light all over the apartment building. Carlo Lopez, a third party that works for Speaker Companies, which is a third party as well. This is the same entity. They're all one in one environment, which is designed to surround you with this engineered light while they engage in psychological terror. Psychological torture is what a demon-possessed entity is engaging in while they're stalking you, keeping you under surveillance, and also monitoring and keeping you under surveillance on the venue of the internet. That's directly relevant to the prosecution of Silverview townhomes, where the entity is keeping a light source and engineered light all over their property in the evening. And it's impossible light activity, especially while the light source is over me at the Fontana Lewis Library, which is what I'm documenting on March 23rd, 2022, and juxtaposing that with the previous day, which was March 22nd, 2022, where the entity would like to suggest that that's the sun that's over the cafe adjacent to and over the Pomona Transit Center, and it's not. It's never going to be the sun, especially while the sun is rising and setting here at Alvarado Gardens, and that's exactly what I was highlighting when I went from Ontario on Route 61 to Pomona, and then on Route 61 back to Fontana, and the entirety of that route. You had the phenomenon of the light source remaining visible in its zenith in the same nature while I'm on the bus route of Route 61. On March 23rd, I took an entirely different bus route, Route 66, and I'm going to the venue of the Fontana Lewis Library at a different time, all right? Arriving there and the light sources remaining for the duration of the day. What is highlighted, the hallmark, is the entity, these demon-infected, demon-possessed, corrupt entity. This is the government that's keeping you under surveillance, and you are capable of seeing what is that system of surveillance while they are literally, because they're stalking you, they have to follow you with this environment, and it's shown even more so the fact that they are indeed stalking you in helicopters at that, with an entire environment, a demonic imitation of the natural environment. There is no iteration of the natural environment that's going to be over the Fontana Lewis Library while it's hovering over my apartment, which is at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. And this is the hillside where this light source was rising this morning, aiming engineer light into my apartment. All right, and this is the same pattern of conduct underway. I want to be clear, the Los Angeles Police Department and the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department as well. But again, there is absolutely no legitimacy. It is an outright admission against the people of the state where the entity is engaging in stalking and that act of psychological terror. The entity that knows that it's being documented for stalking in a helicopter, via helicopter, an absurdly egregious and a highly demented method. intended to psychologically torture someone. This is that criminal system of surveillance, and this is terrorism that's occurring in the United States, and that's what the world needs to understand. And it is of a demonic nature. This is a demonic imitation of the natural environment. Okay, it's not the sun that's over you in Florida or in New York or in Kentucky or in Maine or in Nevada. It's hovering right here over my apartment, and it's not even over the Fontana Lewis Library. That would be impossible, and it's also visible. You know that because this same light source is supposedly setting through my bedroom apartment window in the evening after 6 p.m. That's the P.O.C. This documentation of the entity stalking by helicopter, I want federal government, listen closely. That's directly relevant to the people of the state who are subject to the entity likes to threaten you while you document it. That's directly going against Silverview townhomes. The people of the state engage in the pattern of conduct with the state. They are not only in the specific environment, they are acting complicit to that pattern of conduct. And it is with regard to documenting 1830 through 1898 North Alvarado Street. That is Silverview townhomes engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, facilitation of federal group stalking and monitoring, terrorism by an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, and jointly posing an impermissible threat. All right, all of this is legally relevant to Todd Speaker and Speaker companies. This is occurring in the workplace. This is terrorism, workplace terrorism, harassment, and sexual violence that I'm subject to while you have a demon-possessed criminal entity, a matter of public corruption, that's engaging in state surveillance while I'm on the job and engaging in that pattern of conduct while it's literally monitoring what I'm doing on the internet. And as I document the people of the state, the entity engages in that ongoing act of terrorism by seeking to torment, threaten you, intimidate you, by stalking you, flying and arriving, sounding helicopter activity. That's the pattern of conduct, and it's all tied to what is the unnatural environment that it's occurring in. Those are not ordinary criminals and stalkers that like to use helicopters and planes. Those are demons, okay? And that's not even natural sunlight, nor is that possibly the sun. That's the significance of the documentation, and that's what's surrounding me while the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is in relevant position while I'm in Pomona, California on March 22nd, 2022. It is currently 12:12 p.m. This is P.O.C.